Why does our culture love it so much when two famous people fall in love? It's so funny. Stevie Nicks is a woman whose career has been diligently followed by millions of people for 50 years. But part of her mystery and what makes her so compelling is the fact that she was known to have some very high-profile relationships with some very famous people. We all know about her and Lindsay Buckingham. Their relationship was extremely well documented in the music of Fleetwood Mac. And I've told the story of she and Don Henley and the terminated pregnancy, which would ultimately result in her famous song Sarah. But Dawn was not the only eagle to sweep Stevie off her feet. In 1983, when both Stevie Nicks and Joe Walsh were massively famous solo artists, they first crossed paths when Joe opened for Stevie on tour. Stevie said it was love at first sight. She said, and I quote, "I looked at him, I walked across the room, I sat on the bar stool next to him, and 2 seconds later I crawled into his lap. And that was it." They had a great time together, and Joe said that Stevie rode shotgun on the creation of his iconic 1985 album The Confessor, where Stevie brought in her old friend Keith Olsen as producer. She also introduced him to a lot of session musicians that he'd never played with before, people like Waddy Wachtel and even Randy Newman. Joe told Stevie about the tragic death of his 3-year-old daughter Emma some years earlier, and they even visited the memorial fountain that he had installed in the park where she used to play. Moved by the experience and the story, Stevie Nicks wrote a song for Joe called "Has Anyone Ever Written Anything for You?" And that was kind of the thing about them. The whole world saw Joe Walsh as this wild party animal, virtuoso musician. Stevie Nicks saw the person that he was underneath that, and it captivated her. But this was a wild time in both of their lives. As I talked about in my video about Joe, they were both very seriously dependent on substances at this point. This is the notorious era where things got really bad for both of them. And unfortunately, drugs would cast a significant shadow over their relationship. Fun fact, Tom Petty's song "Don't Come Around Here No More" is actually inspired by a fight between Stevie and Joe. David A. Stewart from the Eurythmics was at a party at Stevie's and heard her throw Joe out, saying, "Don't come around here no more." David gave the idea to Tom Petty, who finished the song. Anyways, at some point, Joe came to the realization that they were enabling each other, and that if either of them wanted to get cleaner and healthy again, they would have to go their separate ways. He went to Australia on tour as a means of physically separating himself from her. It broke her heart. Stevie later said that Joe was the love of her life. His reflection on the relationship is a little less romantic, but let's be real, this man is married. He can't be going around talking about an ex-girlfriend as the love of his life. But Stevie never really got over Joe because of all the famous men that Stevie Nicks spent time with over her incredible life. If there was ever going to be a man for her, it would have been Joe Walsh.